Hello, I am Wanderer001, and this is my review of the Kasa Smart Light Switch, or HS200. And while I will admit this is not the most elegant of setups that I've done for a review, sadly, it is a light switch. It goes in a wall. The light switch is already in the wall. That makes this a little trickier to do. And lighting situations being what they are, this is what we have because this particular light switch is in my basement. I wanted a smart connected light switch so that I could make sure that my workshop area was off or on, depending on what I needed. Now, I wanted a connected one, well, because obviously if I'm forgetful and don't turn my light switch off, well, I can turn that off using a voice command, because this is compatible with both Echo devices as well as Google, which lets you not have to worry if this is on or off, because you can add it to your routines and have it shut off at night if you needed to. Now, I will say, setup of this, little trickier than I had anticipated, only because this requires a neutral wire. And I pretty much had the old light out of the wall and noticed that, well, it did not have a neutral wire. So I had to bring in an electrician in order to actually put this in here, which also means that, sadly, parts of my box and information are gone because, well, I wasn't around when they put it in. Sadly, such is the life of a YouTuber that actually has a 9-to-5 job. What I can say is, after the electrician put it in, the setup process was not terrible at all. So let me show you what that looks like right now. Setup of Kasa TP-Link Smart Switch. So could not do the actual installation myself, so this is after the guy came through and did the wiring that I needed. Not quite even, but you can see there it's flashing green and red for the Wi-Fi signal, as well as that might be a little tricky to see, maybe if I shadow it. That indicates that it is currently off. Clicking it turns it on. So it gives you a little kind of area to click, but that is not what this is about. This is setup. So we come over here, open up our Kasa app, and we're going to try and do this around the camera. So we're going to add a device, and then we tell it what we're looking for. So we have a smart switch. We have what they're classifying as Kasa Smart Switch HS200, which is a single, so this is not a three-way, and this is not a one with a dimmer. So we're going to say this one. Have you already installed your smart switch? We're going to say yes, we have, because we have. After, it's saying it's blinking, and it is blinking. So we're going to move on to the next step. So what it's doing now is it's trying to connect. Now, I will say that there was a Wi-Fi network that this was signaling out. So right now, all right, so it's asking us to choose the network. We are going to say the one I do for my IoT devices, and we're just going to join. And we're going to let this do what it needs to do. The Wi-Fi indicator is blinking rapidly now. So I'm hoping that means it's connecting. Oh, yeah, there we go, it's switching over. So what it did is it probably went on that Wi-Fi network that it was transmitting and then bounced me back. And it wants me to name my device, so we're going to cheat and we're going to use our voice workshop. And we named it, and we're going to move on, and I can select an icon if I want. I'm not really sure what I'm going to do for this one. We can always come back and do this later. So we're going to leave it at that switch one, and we're going to hit save. And keep moving on. Congratulations, it's good to go. All right, sounds good. So let's make sure we can, there's a firmware, so we will upgrade that and then double check to make sure that it will work from the app. All right, our firmware rolled through, so we're going to hit done. And then we're going to find, all right, down there, it's our workshop switch. The app won't let me get down to it, but I can turn it on and off from the app. So again, not terrible at all to set up after it's installed. I will say it does come in a few pieces. The first being is this front plate here, which covers your actual switch. Now there's a MAC address there, which is why that's taped over. Underneath here, you have your reset and restart. If we can get in there a little closer. Reset and restart. buttons, which are covered by the faceplate. Now, I will say, because this is a much chunkier light switch, like the actual backing of it takes up a lot more space, the outlet that was here originally was housed in a plastic, which is why I couldn't add a ground wire, housing. They used a metal housing in order to add the ground wire, but they chose a smaller one, so you can kind of see all this empty space here, which also means that this sticks out from the wall a little more than I would like. When I have the plate cover on it, which it sticks out from the wall, which is why you're getting this shadow around here. That's really my only complaint. If I had a deeper place for them to put this, it would not have been so much of a problem. I will say, it was a little odd for me at first. You would think that this is a toggle switch. Well, it's a toggle switch that you always just push down. You don't have the actual push up here, so you never have to worry about, oh, did I leave it up and then I come along, and if I use the voice assistant, will the up now become the down? You don't have to worry about that. It's just a click on and off. You will also notice that when the lights are off, got a little indicator light there that lets you know where to click. In the setup, you also saw that there was a Wi-Fi indicator there, so there's a lot built into the switch itself to make this easier. Now, aside from the voice assistant and the switch itself, the other way that you're going to interact with this is through the app, and this uses the Kasa app, so let's take a look at the Kasa app right now. This is the main area when you first log in. You'll notice I have several different devices on here. I have a smart light bulb, I have a lot of smart plugs, and right down here at the bottom is my smart switch. Now, the problem I have right now is because I have so many, the app itself does not seem to be able to recognize fully whatever's at the bottom. Before, this was this TV switch, but now it's the workshop. So you can very carefully turn it on and off from here. However, if you attach this to either your Echo or your Google Home, you can use the voice actuation and it'll take care of that. But to look at the options we have for the switch itself, from here, big power button, turn it on, turn it off, and you see that nice little animation. In the background, you also notice, get a little color on that plug, letting you know it's on and off. You also have down here several options, first being schedule. Coming up and pressing the plus sign will allow you to add a schedule. So this will allow you to set a time, set the status for turn this on or off at this time, and then you can say what day of the week. Hit save, and that will create a schedule. We're not going to do that. Timers, just that. After the switch is turned on, 30 minutes, or turned off, 30 minutes start. So what that does is after 30 minutes, it will turn off, or after 30 minutes, turn on. And these are all adjustable as needed. Away mode, well, you set a start time and an end time and what day of the week, and what that will do is it will mirror you being home during those times. So your light will turn on and off like you were home. Runtime, just that. It shows runtime per day, runtime in the past 7 days, and runtime in the past 30 days. Now for me, this isn't a terribly used area in my house. It's the workshop. I don't really go in there except because my dryer is in there for some reason. So unless I'm doing laundry, I'm not down in that area. So I'm not gonna have high runtimes on this. You also have the settings option right up here. And from here, you can change the name and icon. So if we wanted, we can come here and we can pick an icon. We can pick a picture to represent that from our photo album, or we can take a picture using the camera and we just save that. Or we've got a plethora of choices here. Also, we can change the name, but we're gonna go back because we're not making any changes. Device info, just that. All the information you might need on your device. And then you can remove the device if you so wanted. Now that's pretty much what you can do just for the switch itself. Now, there is a lot that you can do on this main area, and I have discussed this several times before, but I will go over this quickly because, well, you might just be looking at this light switch and not any of the other videos that I've done. So, up at the top, you have your listings of all of your items. Here, if you had cameras, they would be listed here. I do not. Scenes. So this is kind of like the scene that you can set up with your Echo or Google Home, where it's good night and certain actions happen. based on you either saying something, clicking this button, or using the audio cue. This area has changed quite a bit. This is now actions. This used to be like a smart hub thing. So this is kind of, if you've got several things that can work together, you can set up actions. So if a light switch is turned on, a camera will also turn on. Or if a camera senses motion, a light switch will turn on. Sadly, with what I have, you don't really get much use out of this area. But you would come down here and add actions. So we would say motion sensing, control switch, schedule a scene, or auto timer. So if we were to schedule a scene, we would click on that. Please select a scene. In this case, I only have the one scene, which is good night, and I hit save, and then select a time, and I can select a time that would run. Now again, based on the way that I use my plugs and smart switches, this area would not be as useful, but perhaps for you it would be. So again, control with a switch. You can come in here, that's the only switch I have, we save, select a device or group. Now here, you can select a device or group that would be controlled by that switch. So again, might be more pertinent to you, but not as useful for my situation. Events, well, activities, sorry. I really don't have any activities because, well, those are based off of smart actions and scenes. Now the last bit that I want to talk about is over here, the hamburger button. Clicking on that will allow you to access settings and some other information and private email, which I don't want to blur out. So clicking on that is important because settings is where you come to update your firmware. Your firmware for these devices does not automatically just update itself. So periodically, once a month, I generally come into the settings and let it search for all of my devices to see if there's any firmware updates. If you've got no firmware updates, you're good to go. But that has been a look at the Kasa app for your TP-Link smart wall switch. So surprisingly, you can do quite a bit through the Kasa app for just a light switch. Keep in mind, if you are attaching this to your voice assistants, you do have to use the Kasa skill for both Google and Amazon. It does also work with IFTTT. This light switch, much like all the other smart devices, is a 2.4 gigahertz, meaning longer range. I won't say less speed, but it doesn't need as much speed as the 5 gigahertz, and 5 gigahertz just would not reach to this portion of my house easily. There's just too much for it to have to go through. It does not require a hub, which is one of the beauty things of this, but it's also a tick against it. The more smart things that you have that don't require a hub mean it's just another thing on your Wi-Fi network. So eventually you could have too many things on your Wi-Fi network. I have not run into that instance yet, and you've seen, again, link over there somewhere to the smart home stuff that I've had. I have not run into a problem as of yet. One of the things that I have not seen and tested myself because I wanted to know, what happens when the power is lost? Well, if the power is lost, and this is in the off position, meaning the lights are off, when the power is restored, the lights will be off. If the light is on, and power is lost, and then restored, the light will be on. So in some ways, good, because, well, if you're walking around and the lights are on and the power goes off and then comes back on, lights on, works for you. However, if it's 3 o'clock in the morning, the light's gonna come on. So just keep that in mind. Now, testing reconnectivity, problematic because if there's total power loss, because you're not gonna be pulling this out of the wall and putting it somewhere else. So testing its reconnective speed, a little trickier. I will say that pretty much as soon as my Wi-Fi network was reestablished, this was back on the network. Closing thoughts, light switch over smart switch. Well, this was kind of necessary because it controls the overhead light, so it was something I needed. Is it worth smartening up a light switch using the Kasa Smart Light Switch HS200? In my opinion, yes. If you're just looking to be able to turn on a bank of lights and you want to be able to use a voice assistant or an app, then this is the way to go. It doesn't monitor any energy usage. It turns your light switch on and off, and you can now use your voice or an app. For the price of between $25 and $30, it's up to you if that convenience is worth that price tag. For me, I've been sitting on this for a while, mainly because I was going to use it in my kitchen, in my condo, to turn on and off the kitchen light, which I could see from my living room when my wife left it on, and I wanted to turn it off to save power. So if you want to do that, I would highly recommend checking out the Kasa HS200 Smart Light Switch I have been Wanderer001. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them in the area below. And as always, thanks for watching.